So how you guys feel?
Hot. Very hot.
So we're here at an amazing patient's house, Irene. Irene and her husband Steve are beekeepers.
So today Marco and crew are here and we're gonna look at the beehive. We are beekeepers here in central city of Virginia Beach. We are in town center. We live on 2/10 of an acre and we have 9 beehives. We probably have over 1 million bees in this backyard right now. We love being beekeepers because it connects us with nature. It helps the environment and we just enjoy the honey. We definitely, if you've never had honey from a local beekeeper, find a local beekeeper, contact me, we'll hook you up because it's not going to taste anything like what you buy in the store.
And good news, everybody, we have Irene's honey available at the practice.
How about that?
So cool.
Okay. So we've got the Accordo team all suited up. We're suited up and we are going to get ready to open up the beehive. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. All right, you going to smoke them? Yeah. All right, we smoke the bees to break up the pheromones and to put them at ease a little bit. It gives us time and room to work where the bees are in a mellow state of mind. Okay, so the first thing that we do is we smoke them in and then we pick up the top. This is called the outer cover.
Oh, so cool.
You'll see that some of them are right there. I'm gonna put it right here, Steve. What Steve is doing now is he's prying off the inner cover. The honeybees create something called propolis, which is like a bee glue. And they do it to seal the hive from the weather. So you'll notice that there's 2 boxes. The top box, each box has 10 frames, and when Steve pulls out the frame, typically you'll find most of the bees in the bottom box, and that's where the queen will lay most of her eggs until she runs out of room, and then she'll come up like a chimney effect, and she'll come up through the middle of the hive, and she'll start putting her eggs in. They'll start pulling out comb. They'll start filling it up. There you go. Tell the difference between.
this is wax foundation. Or it's plastic foundation that's been wax covered. There's nothing been drawn out. If you look on this side, you can see where they've drawn the comb out. So this is what's in this. If you look, is there's stores. That's the shiny stuff, and then there's pollen, and there's bee bread.
So cool.
So the pollen is the different colors, and then if you look, there's the shiny stuff that's right there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's been mixed with honey that they're making, and it's shiny, and that's called bee bread, and that's what they feed the bees.
So cool.
Here, this is all cap brood.
Cap brood is baby bees. So every 2 weeks we get a new turnover of bees that come out of these cells. This is a little bit darker, so it's a little bit older.
All right, let me get this thing set here. Cool. So, Irene, you shared with me earlier an amazing story about what got you started in bees. Will you share that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I was on a work trip in California and stuck in the hotel room because we couldn't go to the site. Saw a documentary on TV about California and the almond pollination effort, and the pollination effort involves about 80 to 90% of the bees in the entire country. There are so many almond crops out in California, they need all these bees to pollinate because it's a very short time of when you can pollinate these plants and get almonds. It's very dangerous because when you have that many bees in one small area, disease and anything could happen to them in transport. You know, you hear of tractor trailers crashing with bees in them and catching on fire. That's happened several times. So if you've got 80-90% of your pollinators in one area of the country, something happens to them, they get disease, they bring disease back, you could wipe out an entire species. And that's really, really problematic for us because bees provide about 70 to 80% of all of the fruits and vegetables that we consume as humans. It's the only insect that we get a edible product from, which is the honey, and they help with the pollination. So bees, honeybees we're talking about are not the only pollinators. Of course, there's butterflies and there's bumblebees and there's other pollinators, but honeybees are the only ones that you actually get a product from. And they are responsible for about 70 to 80% of all pollination in the whole country.
So you were inspired to do something.
I was really concerned about this. So I came home from my trip and I told Steve that we needed to do something. We needed to at least host a hive. We needed to learn more about how we could plant a garden that could host pollinators, and that's how we started. We started swapping out all the plants in our yard because we used to get those formulated, I call them Frankenstein plants, from Home Depot that are bred to be insect resistant, but then they don't offer anything back for a pollinator to take from them. And it kind of imbalances the natural way that nature is supposed to work, you know, for any lack of a better explanation. So we started swapping out our plants. We got involved with the local beekeeping group. We got a mentor, and in a year, we were up and hosting our first hive in the backyard.
Cool.
And over the course of 8 years, we've probably gone through maybe 100 hives because we've learned and we failed and we learned again and we got better. And now we're up to 9 hives in our backyard. And every plant in this backyard hosts or supports a pollinator, whether it be a honeybee, a bumblebee, a butterfly, and they bloom at different series of the different points of the year. Like we have our early bloomers in the spring. In the back, you'll see coneflowers that are going to bloom in about midsummer. Then we have another breed of coneflowers that will bloom at the end of the fall. The plants back there in the corner bloom in the wintertime, as do the camellias up here against the front window.
Nice. Blooming in the winter time.
Yeah, it's really, who'd have thought, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, what about this do you love the most? What makes your heart jump with joy about keeping bees?
So, the bees are so well organized. They really are. It's a whole ecosystem. Everybody's got a role. Everybody plays according to that role. When something goes wrong in the hive, they rally around to fix it. Everybody wants to be the queen bee, but believe me, other than like that 1 week that she gets to go out and party and mate with a bunch of drones, which are boy bees, and come back, once she's mated and back in the hive, she's in that hive until her death, usually about 2 to 5 years. So if you're a queen bee, all you're doing is sitting in the hive and laying eggs all the time. Right, working all the time. You don't really want to be the queen bee. I would rather be the worker bee. The worker bees say who's coming in the hive, who's working in the hive, and who's doing what in the hive. I like that I'm giving back to the community. I like that I'm preserving these insects for the future, and I'm really glad that I'm making a difference in sustaining our agriculture. It just, yeah, it's just really great.
So, how does chiropractic care help you do this to the best of your ability?
These boxes weigh between 35 and 55 pounds when you pick them up, each box.
That's wild.
Beekeeping is not for the faint of heart or the out of shape. It is very physical intensive. Chiropractic, it gives me energy. It gives me, it puts me in a good mood, right? It does, even though, you know, it does. It helps improve my mood, it helps improve my health and well-being, and it allows me to move these boxes around with ease and sustain this hobby that I love to do.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's really improved my general quality of life.
You were saying so many things that were congruent with exactly what we do in chiropractic earlier. One of the big ones that stuck out is you were talking about allowing nature to take its course.
Absolutely.
So talk about, in terms of bees and pollinating and nature taking its course, you know, when I say those things, what does that mean to you in just a purely bee and nature sense?
When we first got involved in bees, we were very heavy-handed, meaning we were in these bees every week. We were disturbing them. We were not letting them do what bees do. We were breaking their cycle of productivity. And in that sense, the hives failed. And we learned to support them by planting plants that produce the pollen that they could use to turn into honey, and to just let them do their thing. You know, we learned to buy plants and products from reputable places that didn't modify the plants so that we had something to give back to the bees. We have learned through the course of this that not all insects are bad and not all weeds are bad. You know, everybody wants to kill all the dandelions, but the dandelions are one of the very first sources of food and pollen for the bees in the springtime. So I love it when people say they don't dig up their dandelions and they don't mow their clover.
Love it. So the parallel is, you know, the bees have been doing this for a long, long time, and they are set up for success. And for the most part, what they need is less interference.
Yes.
Fair?
Absolutely, yeah.
And in that way, our bodies are designed for success. Since the dawn of humanity, we've been growing and healing in really profound ways. And what we need is less intervention most of the time. Less drugs, less surgery, less injections. We need more of our body doing what our body knows how to do. And that's exactly what chiropractic does. And that's exactly what you've enjoyed. I mean, the changes that we've been able to see in just what you're able to do after starting chiropractic care has been huge. So I love sharing your story. I love sharing it with the world. Irene is extremely passionate about not just bees, but just about life. And just spending time with her is one of the most amazing things any of us could possibly
thank
do.
you.
You're awesome. Are you kidding me? So
Yeah, that was one of my goals going in, was to not use any kind of drugs or anything. I want natural healing. I want everything as natural as possible as I can.
boom.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you so much for sharing your life with us,
Oh, you're welcome.
sharing your passion. And my hope is that you guys watching will be inspired to, number one, take your health into your own hands in a way that honors what you are built to be in terms of success naturally. And on top of that, to utilize those principles in your whole life. If you're going to plant some plants, maybe think about planting plants that support some pollinators. Maybe think about using less chemicals on your yard. And if you're going to buy honey, buy it from a local beekeeper.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you for taking interest.
Live higher.